Well, we're still converting, but this time we're actually taking fractions and converting them into decimals, which will involve some of the skills that you've recently learned in your decimal unit. So I've just reiterated some of the common fractions and their decimal equivalents that you should be working on memorizing. And there's actually another handout that you picked up in between this one, handout number 2, which is common conversions. And right now you should just focus on the fraction and decimal columns, and you can kind of ignore that percent column. If you haven't picked up handout number 2, you should pick that up as well. I reference it later in this notes section. But when you're converting fractions or mixed numbers to decimal, you just have to remember that a fraction is really just a division problem. So you're just going to use what you know about decimal division and just divide the denominator into the numerator. And so I've labeled here so you can keep straight which is which. And I've given you a nice example down here with just some of the details written out. So 7/8, if I want to convert that, I just think of it as simply a 7 divided by 8. It's important not to get them mixed up when you write this step right here. So in red, I just wrote the zeros that I ended up adding. Obviously, you can't divide 8 into 7, so you're going to have point something. And once you get your decimal up there in the quotient, you just divide as usual, keep adding zeros and bringing down until you either get one of these two situations, no remainder or a repeating decimal, which repeating decimals were discussed at the end of the decimal unit. So let's try another one. So on page 2, I've given you one that's a mixed number. So when you see that, you know from the beginning, well, I know my answer is going to be 6 point something. So over here, let's just write something. So I just ignore the 6 temporarily, and I'm just worrying about 3 divided by 16. So 3 divided by 16, I just put my decimal point, get it up here, just continue, do the whole long division until I get, in this case, I got no remainder. The hard part when you do it like this is you have to remember at the end to put that 6 back in there and not just write 0.1875. So there's a couple of examples with the little notes written out beside each one. Let's try some more where you have to convert. Now in yellow I put you have to show the division unless it's one of the memorized conversion facts. So neither 7/33 or 8/15 are on the handout number 2 of the ones where you memorize. So you've got some work to do. So 7 is, I'm going to go ahead and extend that page a little bit. 7 is my numerator, so it is my dividend. 33 is my divisor. Just get my decimal where it belongs. I'll just typically write in a couple of zeros. I may have to go further, or I may not need as many. 33 into 70 will go twice. That's 66. Subtract. Bring down. 33 will go once into 40. It's 33. Subtract. Gonna have to add a 0 to bring down. And I'm kind of getting back to where I'm starting off with the 70 again. Sometimes people just kind of keep going a little bit until they start to notice it. But once you get right here, you should think, oh, look, that 2, 1, 2, 1 thing is going to keep happening again, right? If I kept going. So once you realize it, you can stop. When you write your answer, the best way to write this one would be 0.21 with the bar over the 2, 1. And, you know, you could put the 0 in front. I'm bad about forgetting to do that. The other way of doing it is you've got an established pattern here, putting dot, 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 and that would be okay as well. Let's try the next one. we've got a mixed number. So we've got 8/15. If 8/15 simplified, we would do that first. So always remember to look, but it doesn't. So I'm just going to come over and divide. 8 is divided by 15. My decimal, a couple of zeros there. 15 into 80 goes 5 times. Any scratch work you need to do to figure that out, that 15 times 5 is 75 if you need it, that should go not in your work, but on another piece of paper. Subtract, bring down, and keep dividing. 15 into 50 goes 3 times. 3 times 15 is 45. Subtract. You can start to see that that 3 is going to keep happening because I get 45. If I added another one and brought down, I would get 3 again. Oops. Not 0. So it has started to repeat, but the 5 isn't repeating, just 3. So I would, remember I need that 11 back in there, so it's 11.53, and just the 3 is repeating. Please be careful and make sure you're just putting the bar over exactly what repeats. Otherwise, you're giving a completely different answer, which is not a good idea. All right, let's flip over to the next page. And on this one, I actually did give you some that you can simplify first. So that's why you see the red line there. It helps if the fractions are simplified from the start. Sometimes that will allow you to use some of the things from the memorized conversion by fact chart, which makes it less work for you. So 3/12 is 1/4, and if we don't already know it, we should know it soon, that 1/4 is 0.25 in decimal form. So, done. Sometimes you don't have to do long division, and when you can avoid it, I strongly urge you to avoid it. So go ahead and simplify this one. You get 8/9. And if you look at your handout number 2, you're going to see that this is one of those repeating decimals that I want to commit to memory. If I don't commit it to memory, I could still divide 9 into 8. But all the fractions with 9 as the denominator, proper fractions, they're really easy to remember. Whatever the numerator is, it's point that repeating. So like 6/9 is 0.6 repeating. 7/9 is 0.7 repeating, and so on. But you can look at your handout number 2 to get that info. And then number 6, you've got a whole number, so you only need to really worry about the 1/12. If you're afraid you're going to forget, what I kind of like to do sometimes is go ahead and write this 16 point, like that's where I'm going to put my answer. Right there, and then down below it I'll do my division, where I do 1 divided by 12. I'll add a couple of zeros, so 12 won't go into 10. Remember to be really careful about how you're lining things up. Oops, sorry, that's 10. Bring down another 0, or you could have just said, okay, now I'm going to divide into 100. That would go 12 times 8 is 96. Subtract, you get a 4, add a 0 and bring down. 12 into 40 goes 4 times. Nope. No, I'm crazy. Goes 3 times. Oops. Okay, so I can get this back here. That was 0. That was 8. And then we decided it's going to go 3 times. That's 36. Subtract. Bring down. I'm getting that 40 repeatedly, so that 3 is going to keep going. So I've got 16.08, and just the 3 is repeating. This really is a good idea to start it off so that you don't accidentally box 0.083 repeating and you actually get the 16 thrown in there. So I would, if I were you, stop the video, do these on my own, and then come back. Okay, well, I've worked these out. Fortunately, if you use the memory list, you can get these really quickly. 52.8, 4 out of 5. If you got 4 out of 5 right on a test, you'd make an 80. That decimal version is 0.8. If you don't know it, you would divide 4 by 5. And it would only take one short little step to see it. On number 8, if you simplify 120 over 90 to get 4/3, and then you convert that into a mixed number, then you'll notice, oh, 1/3 is one of the things on my list. I'm supposed to know that that's 0.3 repeating. No long division needed. On number 9, 6 3/8, you just divide 3 by 8. I got 0.375, and that's it. So you can see this is a little bit more work than the reverse, where when we were taking the decimal and converting it to a fraction, but it just continues to give you more practice on decimal long division. Have fun!